It seems like a lot of you didn't watch my video on dealing with election anxiety based on everything I've been seeing post election. And I know a lot of people out there are incredibly anxious right now, and that's normal. You know, your emotions are valid. We feel it for a reason, and especially, I always say the subconscious mind, everything that it does, all of our best and worst impulses, there is a perceived benefit to it. And it wants to drive us towards things that feel better and drive us away from things that are uncomfortable. And anxiety is a very powerful tool to do that, um, especially if there's a lot of uncertainty about what the future holds. Because the one thing that the subconscious is terrified of is uncertainty, unknowing. And that's why it can be so hard for us to make positive changes in our lives, even if consciously we really want to do something. It's that unknown is scary. So the subconscious wants to keep us in the same place, stop us from going out into the unknown where it can't protect us, right? Stay put. And anxiety does that because it's a survival mechanism. That fear response will keep you from doing things. I know. I dealt with it for years. It kept me from living my life until I learned how to overcome it with hypnosis. And I know there's always a million and one things to be worried about in the world. And that unease of what may be coming is something very difficult to process, to wrap our minds around. And the anxiety that that creates, I want you to just stop and ask yourself, how is this keeping me stuck? What am I not doing in service of my goals, in service of what I want my life to be like, when I'm instead just worrying and ruminating about election results? And once we start to notice that, we see how the anxiety is exercising its power over us, how it is reducing our influence over our own lives, essentially. And that it creates more of that sense of powerlessness, of that loss of control, which then creates more anxiety because we end up feeling like the world is just happening to us, that we're not actively being able to participate or influence things, but we do have control of our life. The Our locus of control is going to be different, and we can't control other people. We can't control what other people think, what other people do, what other people say. but we can control ourselves. We can control our own minds. We can choose and control how we react to the emotions that we're feeling. The emotion of anxiety, of fear, generates a feeling in the body. That's why we call it feelings. That's the difference between the two. And that feeling, it will be uncomfortable. And because that physical discomfort will keep us from doing something. Fight, flight, freeze, right? These are just ways of communicating to us that something's going on. We don't have to react to that. We don't have to be powerless. We can take charge of our thoughts, of our emotions, and most importantly, of our actions. And that's what hypnosis helps us do, especially in times of uncertainty. When you're anxious, the one thing is, like, you just want it to stop, and you will do anything to make that anxious feeling stop. And that's usually giving into what it wants, which is just stop. Don't venture out. Don't do those things that you want to do. Don't chase your goals. Don't chase your dreams. Just stop, because it's scary out there, because there's uncertainty in the world, and there always will be. So it becomes a question of the devil right, is better than the one that you don't. And anxiety, it's familiar if you've had it, and there's a certain comfort in that, because, like I said, the subconscious wants to stay away from the unknown and move us towards, like, what it knows, keep us in place. And that's the thing, that familiarity tricks us into staying put, into not taking action. And if we really stop and think about it, like, okay, the election went one way. If it went the other, how many people would still be freaking out about what the losing team is going to do now? That anxiety would still be there. What you're feeling now would still be there, because it's coming from somewhere else. The issue is never the issue. There is something beneath that. And what that is, we can get insights on it, but it usually comes down to not taking action, or being afraid to take action, to step out and be seen and be heard and chase our dreams. Take action. It prevents us from doing that. And in order to change that, if we really want to, ruminating on it, spinning around, isn't going to do anything. It just brings us more of that anxiety, of that discomfort. What we focus on expands. And if that anxious feeling comes in, and you just dial into that and start posting on social media, oh God, the sky is falling, everything, blah, blah, blah. That's going to ramp it up, it's charging it because we're spinning our gears in the same place. Because the subconscious goes, oh, okay, you want more of this because we're focused on that. And it thinks it's doing good. And it's also preventing us from going after goals. And this isn't just with election anxiety. This is anxiety in general. When that comes up, this is how it works. This is why it's so fucking insidious, right? It's going to keep ramping that up and ramping that up. And what are you doing? You're feeling worse. You're getting more anxious. You're shrinking away from the things that you want more. You're not taking action. You're not empowering yourself at that point. You're letting it call the shots. You're letting that anxiety run the show. And that's going to start, a spiral of negative self-talk, all designed to keep us in the same place. And it doesn't have to be like that. I mean, like I said, like our emotions are all valid. Like we are hardwired to feel this stuff, and it's okay. You shouldn't be trying to push it down or shove it away, or suppress it or repress it. It's about accepting it and letting it pass by. Going, yeah, okay, I feel this. I'm nervous about the future. I don't know what to expect. But we're not living in the future. We're living in the now. And if you want that future to look better when you finally get there, because it's always going to be in the distance, but what do you do right now that's going to shape that into the future that you want to be in, into that positive, empowered future? It all starts now. And worrying about what comes next, what's going to happen, all that does is prevent you from being in the now, from taking the action that you really want to do, that you need to do. And with hypnosis, once we recognize that, and we all have this ability inside of us, the tools are there. Everything that we need is already inside of us. And when we can recognize that and access those resourceful states that are going to help empower us in the now to live life in courage instead of fear, that's a great feeling. It's a liberating feeling. And it's a lot more comfortable than worrying about what's going to happen all of the time. Because, from experience, I can say worrying about the future, it doesn't do any good. And all like the worst possible things we can imagine will not come close to the horrible things that are likely to happen in reality. There's so much of a disconnect between our imaginations and then like the actual experience of reality. And that's because we're creative like that. We're lucky that we can imagine things so vividly that it scares us and causes us to shut down. On the downside, we can forget that that's just in our heads, and that we still have to do our daily life, and we can only do that if we're living in courage. If we have the courage to say, you know what, if shit hits the fan, I can handle it. And trusting that, we can only do the best in the moment. And that's what life is at the end of the day. It's a series of moments. And those moments are all happening now. And we don't have to let the moments where we feel anxious, where we are worried about things, we don't have to let that weigh us down. We don't have to let that stop us from pursuing our goals, from living a life well lived, living a life that we enjoy. We can choose to allow anxiety to stop that, or we can say, no, I'm empowered and I'm going to take action and I'm going to do something about this because this is my life. And I can't control what's happening in the world, but I can control what's happening up here. I can control the things I do. I can control how I react to whatever shit's happening outside. I can't control that shit, and that's okay. I can control this. That's empowering. And when you know that, yeah, you're still going to get upset. You're still going to get anxious about things, but it's so much easier to navigate through life. It's so much easier to do the things that you need to do so that you can do the things that you truly want to do and not waste the time anymore. That's the biggest thing is anxiety, that worry about the future, about whatever. It takes away our precious time. And, I get angry when I think about how much time I gave up to anxiety when I could have been doing a hell of a lot more with my life. I could have learned this shit years before I did and been helping even more people. Right? But I didn't. And that's okay because that was a path, that was a journey I had to go on. And you're on a journey too. Yeah, and if you're watching this, there's a reason for that. And I hope that reason is because you are sick and tired of letting anxiety control your life, that you're sick and tired of being bombarded with fear mongering from the media, from everything, and you're like, no, I want to live my life in courage. I want to pursue my goals. I want to be happy. I want peace. I want to feel empowered to live my life and not have this existential fucking dread hanging over me. And you can have that. Because no matter what happens outside in the world around us, our inner world is ours. Yeah. This is ours. This is ours. And we get to shape it however we want. Or we can let what's outside shape it for us. And I hope you would rather be empowered to shape it yourself than let the world around you shape it for you. Because I tell you, you're gonna like a lot more doing it yourself. and that's what hypnosis helps us do. It helps us get that clarity. It helps us shake off that fear. It gives us the motivation to move forward into the unknown and be brave and live life in the now, focusing on what we care about the most and bringing those things that we care about more into our life, embracing that. And it's not even, when I think about it, it's not even about like getting rid of that fear. And again, because I talk about the scale of emotions: apathy, grief, fear, lust, anger, pride, courage, acceptance, love, peace. These are all things that we are hardwired to feel. And we cycle through that scale all of the time. Right? We're always going up and down. We want to set that baseline so we're living up in courage, like ideally 80% of the time, but obviously we're going to go up and down. And so we're still going to feel anxious about things. We're still going to be worried about things, but we don't let it control us at that point. We let it go. And then it starts to change. Once we let it go, it starts to move up that scale. And and then eventually that fear will turn into courage. And so accepting it's okay to feel that. We're not getting rid of it, we're not like shoving it off. But we're empowering ourselves to accept that it's there while we're going after the feelings, the emotions that we want more of. Yeah, that's there. What's it telling me? Should I be careful with this? Should I make this decision or not? Is this a good decision to make or a bad decision based on my goals? Well, when I think about it, I feel a little anxious. And this one, going in this decision, that feels better to me in my body. That's what these emotions do, is they inform us, and then we'll go for the one that feels good. And that doesn't mean that the one that feels good is always right. It's not. I mean, sometimes that one that feels good is the one that moves us away from tension that we need to feel for personal growth. But with hypnosis, you will be able to identify that a lot better. And no matter what decision you make, you'll be able to feel good about it because it was your decision. You were empowered to choose it yourself and actually go for it. And you can't beat that. So, yep, that's right, Christina. Don't live in the future. Future thinking creates fear and anxiety. And that's the thing, in the future is where fear and anxiety lives, the unknown, right? In the past, well, we have like grief and apathy, the sadness if we're looking back. And that's, always hear the the deal that, oh, okay, depression is living in the past, anxiety's, you know, living in the future. And when we're good, we're living in the now. And it's important that we do live in the now, that we work with what is in front of us and empower ourselves to take the actions that we need to take that are going to help us live the life that we want, and not ruminating on what ifs or what was. You go, yep, that happened. Where am I now? And sometimes all that shit gets stuck. We get jammed up. So if you think of it like this is the amygdala, and normally it's going fight, flight, freeze, fight, flight, freeze. And when we have anxiety, boom, it's stuck open. And we're in this hyper vigilant state where now everything is a threat, and that takes a lot of energy. It doesn't feel good. Like, we're only supposed to be in this in like short bursts, when we absolutely need it. Normally we're supposed to be going like this. But like, if we're anxious about something, we're worried about this, it's stuck open. And with hypnosis, we go in, bam, get it moving again, so you can actually take action and just start going, okay, now I'm moving forwards again. Yep, that was stuck. Dealt with that. I'm going to move forward. And it's natural. It's natural for that to happen. So I know that with everything that has been going on, and like I said, I've been seeing it all over social media. And you can go to a therapist and ruminate on it and spin it over and over and over again and make yourself more anxious about things and just keep living in that dread, in that cycle of fear, in that cycle of worry. Or you could go to a hypnotist and empower yourself to actually make a change, to take that action and actually do something if you want to feel it, if you want to be free of that uncomfortable feeling. And I know a lot of you, and maybe most, and this is, something that is very tough to admit, but that anxiety, it feels good, right? It's comfortable. That's what, it's a tough thing to say. It's a tough thing for me to admit. But we have to go, do I really want this to change, or do I like it? And when I talk about like how it's insidious to keep us stuck in one place, to keep us from moving forwards, that's how it does it. It's that familiarity. It's that like, oh, well, I'm so worried about this. I'm so anxious. Oh, I'm such a wreck. It makes you feel special, right? That's how it gets you. There's a certain appeal to that is designed to keep us in it, to keep us stuck. And to change it, We have to be ready to be like, no, this doesn't make me special. This is bullshit. This doesn't help me get what I want. This isn't how I want to live my life. I want to actually change something. I want to be free of that. And when you're ready to be free of that, and when that's what you want, when you see that there isn't really a benefit into hanging on to that anxiety, that you've already been hanging on to it for too long, it's just taking too much energy out of you, and it's time to take your life back, and it's time to empower yourself to do the things that you want to live life on your terms. Go to EBHypno.com, book a consultation call with me. We'll do a session over Zoom, and we'll blast out that blockage. We're going to get that flowing again. Like taking a knotted up garden hose. You know, the water's going through it, boom, it gets stuck. That's where that anxiety, that's where that fear, that's where all that shit gets stuck, and nothing's coming out the other end. We're going to take that knot out. We're going to get that water flowing again, so you can start living your life in an empowered way that feels good, that maybe you even forgot you have it in you to do. So that's all for today, my friends. Take care. And again, if you're ready to change, stop waiting. Make it happen now. Take an action. Go to EBHypno.com. Book a session with